December 17th, 2020. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 223 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Mike, we had the Browns.
Yes.
+3. We had the Browns.
Yep.
Like a lot of people.
Yeah, you're talking about this Monday Night Football game just a few days ago.
So for those who don't know, it was a wild finish to the game. The Ravens were up by 3 with 2 seconds left. So it was pretty much, unless there was some miracle, the Ravens were going to win by 3. And it just so happened that the point spread was 3. So no matter what...
You should backtrack to about 3 minutes earlier when Cleveland scored, then the Ravens scored. I mean, nobody was playing defense in that game.
It was something else those last few minutes. Yeah. It really was. Well, with 2 seconds left, the Ravens had gone ahead by 3, and there were 2 seconds left, so they had to kick it off. And, of course, it was a touchback, so there were still 2 seconds left. So from scrimmage, Cleveland took the ball, and then, it was the typical, laterals and, backward passes and all sorts of things to try to come up with a miracle score. And you really should see the video if you haven't seen it. But they keep throwing it backwards so many times that it pretty much almost goes out of the back of the end zone.
Right. But eventually you can't throw it any further backwards because they keep running backwards. And what was funny is none of their players were behind the guy with the ball.
Yeah, I know. There was no place to throw.
You've got 11 guys out there, and the guy with the ball, there's like one guy behind him. I mean, why aren't 10 other guys
Most of the guys should be behind because that's the only way you can throw it, right? Well, anyway, one of the Browns players did kind of get it in the back of the end zone and was tackled for a safety for the Ravens. So the Ravens ended up winning by 5.
Right.
And, of course, everybody was going crazy on, oh, my gosh, the bad beat. Everybody thought they were going to push, the point spread bets. But no, anybody who had the Ravens -3 and people like us at +3 Cleveland.
We also had the over, though. So
we
didn't lose a lot. We just lost our vig. But you know what? As I'm listening to it, I was listening on the radio. I kept thinking, throw it forward. Somebody, how sometimes they think they're lateraling it backwards and it goes a little forward a yard or two, and then throw a flag, and then the play's over.
Okay.
So even if they get a safety, it's over because it was a penalty. So I kept hoping for that, thinking, please just do that. Just do that.
You're thinking like a sports bettor, right? There was no reason for the Browns to do that, right?
Well,
they don't care about that.
No, not on purpose. I'm just thinking,
just as a mistake.
Do it as a mistake. No, on purpose, they should try and advance the ball. I think if you're going to score a touchdown, Mark, you need to move the ball forward.
Yeah.
Not keep running back until there's nobody behind you and then you just throw it in the end zone.
Well, I think that's what most of the Browns were thinking. That's why they were ahead of the guy with the ball. Come on, we got to move it forward. It's wacky.
There is a point in every situation like that. There is a point where you have to actually go forward and just take your chances, right?
Yeah.
Because you lateral it back and then the guy takes one step and then he laterals it back. You keep lateraling it backwards. You're going nowhere.
Somebody's got to make a move, right? And nobody did.
None of them did because the Browns are the Browns. As are the Chargers.
Yep.
Who actually pulled out a win.
Yeah, I saw that.
They tried to lose. They tried to lose, but they couldn't do it. They failed on losing.
Now that they're out of the playoffs, I think they're really trying.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Harrah, Southern California. How many episodes is that sentence uttered? A couple of weeks ago, we went to Harrah, Southern California. Last week, but I think every episode. So, as you recall, they have the fire bet out there on the craps table, and they've got this new thing called the Impressive Progressive.
Yes.
Which actually pays if 3 or more unique points are made. It pays $25. It's actually $25 for 5. It's a $5 minimum maximum bet. It has to be 5. You get 3 numbers, you get $25. And if you get 4 numbers, you get $100. Well, we were out there, and they were resetting the machines, the Impressive Progressive.
The power had been out due to fires.
Right. They'd actually shut the power off. The power company did because of the high winds.
Because of the high winds, and that kind of screwed their system up or something. So they had to reboot the whole thing when it came on.
Yeah. So while they were rebooting the system, we could not make the impressive progressive. It's like a big deal. We could still make the fire bet because that's not electronically run. It's just right there.
Right.
Well, sure enough, while the impressive progressive was down, we hit 4 unique numbers. And we got paid on the fire bet. And then the pit boss, who was running the craps game right there, said, I know you guys were going to make this bet. Here's $100. Gave everybody at the table $100.
Yeah.
That's great customer service. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that was great. And he knows we would bet it.
Oh, of course,
so,
yeah.
He was just honoring what would have happened if everything was working properly. But he didn't have to do that.
Nope, he sure didn't.
We would have all just said, oh, darn,
Yeah. And we were at the same table we were at about a month ago where I had this monster roll and I had another monster roll, same spot. We were standing at the exact same location. We got to get on that table more often.
Yeah, I wish you'd have the monster roll right before we go home, though, for a change.
Or even right when we get there.
Right when we get
either
there,
one would be fine.
Not when we're down and the monster roll gets us back to even, and then every roll after that's terrible.
So, Mike, it turns out you did go to the Great Gift wrap-up.
Yes.
We didn't tweet out anything because...
I was in Vegas for so short a time.
And you weren't really moving around. And plus, if anybody wanted to come talk to you, you're at the table. People can't really stand behind you and have a conversation.
No, and
they can play at the table with you.
Right.
You know
what's funny is I couldn't believe how many people they kicked off who would come and watch. One guy who is a Rincon regular, his daughter came and stood near him and they made her move.
Wow.
And he said, but it's my daughter. And they said, no, she can't stand here.
Wow.
It's you got to be 6 feet away. And they made her move and she moved and he left.
So anyway, that's why we didn't tweet about it because you were going to be there such a short time. You know, it would have been hard to meet up with anybody. But anyway, we'll talk about your trip in a second. When we were out at Harrah's a couple weeks ago, one of the regulars, David, was telling us a story about how last year he missed the Great Gift wrap-up. And shortly thereafter, earlier this year, I don't know if it was January or February of this year, 2020, Caesars contacted him and said, hey, if you come to Tahoe, Harrah's, Tahoe, Harvey's, that kind of thing, we will give you in free play what you had earned in Great Gift wrap-up dollars. And we're thinking, hey, what a great, that's great. No guarantee that, they're going to do that this year or if that's a policy or David was singled out, I don't know. But that was a great story to hear. Now, the punchline is he was scheduled to go out in April to Tahoe.
I think he told me it was late January when he got the text. He made a trip scheduled for April, and then everything shut down.
Yeah, so, the end of the story is he didn't get the free play or anything. But I thought it was interesting that I hadn't heard. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
Yeah.
No. Along those lines, it just occurred to me, actually today, I was clearing out my phone of old emails, right? Mm-hmm. And I never got my experience points from 2019.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's right, Mike. You were going to go to like some baseball games or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I was going to get baseball tickets to the Padres. Mm-hmm. And I had like 4 tickets to 4 games.
Yeah, that's right.
And, they give you the nice tickets. I mean,
they're good seats, yeah.
They're very good seats. It was all scheduled and set up, and I was even opening weekend, I was going to be there. Mm-hmm. And, that never happened because baseball never happened. Mm-hmm. And they had told me at the time, oh, don't worry, we're going to give you something later. And then COVID dragged out so long, I've never heard anything about that.
Really? So this just occurred to you recently, so you haven't had a chance to...
It occurred to me today because I was clearing out old emails.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I came across the email where the guy sent me and said, oh, don't worry about it because of COVID. I know we'll get you when baseball starts up again. We'll get you later in the season. Well, baseball never started again with fans.
Yeah.
So I guess those are lost.
Gosh, you should... I mean, it's almost the end of the year here. You should get in touch with your host and find out what's going on. Yeah.
Well, what about the experience points for next year?
Right,
January, right?
Right.
I haven't heard a word about it.
Yeah.
So,
well, hopefully they'll have some way to make it up. Gosh.
Yeah, you would think they'd do something. Well, you earned them, and it's kind of your reward.
Let us know if you find anything out.
Yeah,
it might be.
I might ask this next time I'm there.
Okay.
I might ask the host.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, you did go on this trip. So tell us all about it.
Well, I basically flew in Saturday morning and then flew out super early the next morning, like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So I was in Vegas for, about 21 hours,
Yeah.
21 something hours.
Yeah. And you flew, now you flew Spirit there. Had you ever flown on Spirit
we
before?
flew on Spirit before.
Oh, okay.
And I flew Frontier home. They're
Okay.
both no frills,
Yeah, right.
cheap airlines. I've got a story to tell you about that.
Okay.
But as far as Vegas goes, I got my great gift wrap up. Now, it was different this year. There was no room with all the items.
Right.
that
You were
could
saying
look
it
at
was
and
more of a
touch.
virtual kind of a thing.
Yeah, right. All you had to do is have a room registered in your name
Okay.
and then go to the kiosk in any of the Caesars properties and slide your card, and then it gave you a confirmation number. You just order online.
Oh, so that was it. You just
was
had to
it.
be there, have a room in your name, slide a card there, and then at that point you could have just left.
Right, exactly. Could have just
okay.
left. I
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
got a room, left. I could have been on the next flight.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought I had to go over to Caesars and maybe do something. No, I did it right from Harrah's.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about that is you had to have a room. And I thought, so what if my wife came with me and I have a room in my name,
Right.
but not hers?
Oh, and she's got some
And
points.
she's got some points because in the past we were able to combine them or something. Or if my dad, in the past came with me, we shared a room. How would that work?
Yeah. I'm sure they
I heard-
must have accommodated
There must
couples
be
like that. Or
something,
yeah,
but
there
I-
had to have been, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. If anyone knows.
Well,
let us
you
know.
can add people to your room.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
So I'm
yeah.
sure that's would have been it, right? Oh, add my wife to the room so she can get her great gift wrap up, right?
Yeah, so I don't know how that would have worked,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's how the great gift wrap up went.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have until December 20th to actually order.
Okay.
So I came home that next day, and then my wife waited a couple of days to order because I had earned more points while I was there.
Oh,
playing.
yeah. Oh,
And
interesting.
I
yeah.
basically just stayed at Harrah's. I did walk over to Link and to Bally's.
Okay. Just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah,
There you
just
go.
to mix it up.
Yeah.
It started off great. I won a bunch of money right off the bat. And then after that, it just went downhill and ended up basically even for the trip.
Okay.
So that was okay. Although I'll tell you, Mark, this is the clue you're getting old. I went to bed at 9:30 that night
On the Saturday night.
on a Saturday night. And I was exhausted. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I was tired.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll go up to the room. I'll rest a little bit. I'll come back down and play, and then go to bed at 2 or something, sleep
Right.
for a couple hours, get up and leave.
Yeah.
Never.
No,
made
you
it back
slept
down.
all night?
Yep, slept all night.
Well, it's got to be hard too with a mask on. I mean, yeah, you're getting
Well,
older, but
that's-
all day,
yeah.
walking around with a mask and
That's it. But my legs hurt. I just felt
Yeah,
tired.
yeah.
I mean, I've never, ever, even close to 9:30. I mean, that's ridiculous. But that's how it ended up.
okay. And
So-
did you what were meals like? What'd you do for meals?
Oh, I just ate one meal.
Okay.
So I got a little snack here before we left San Diego. And then I didn't eat anything until that night about 7 o'clock. And I went to Guy Fieri's at the Link.
Oh, okay.
That was excellent.
Oh, good.
I am not kidding. Probably the best meal I've ever had in Vegas.
Oh, come on.
Yes, I am not kidding, Mark. I had the Hawaiian barbecue chicken thing. Big, huge chunk of pineapple on there.
Yeah.
I mean, the sauce was unbelievable. And get this, it comes with a side of fries. It's this big thing of fries with all different kinds of fries.
Okay.
So there's
Right.
potato wedges, there's crinkle fries, there's Criss Crunch fries, there's regular fries. They had these like flat potato things, all different kinds.
Amazing.
I was so excited about that. Just, oh, look, this one's a crinkle. And, and the waiter was excellent.
Okay.
He actually turned the channel on the TV. There was a bunch of TVs in there. Turned the channel to the San Diego State BYU game.
Good.
So I was able to watch that.
Nice.
He brought me extra barbecue sauce. And you know how I love extra
Yeah,
sauce.
I do know.
Yeah, it was an outstanding
Okay,
meal.
so
I am not kidding.
Again,
it was outstanding.
best meal you've ever had in Vegas. That's what you're saying. I
Yes.
just want to
No,
make sure
I
that
mean-
the listeners are hearing this.
Most satisfied I've ever been with a meal in Vegas.
All right. That's a little different.
It's
Okay.
a little different.
All right.
Maybe most satisfied I've ever been with a meal.
All right.
It might have been the company too.
Yeah. It's rough when you go with me. I know.
Yeah, it's just me by myself, so there's no irritation,
Well, speaking of that,
no stupid talk. I mean, there was absolutely no stupid talk the whole meal.
speaking of that, then what was the experience like? I mean, you're by yourself.
Yeah, which
know, you're-
I've done that before, but I
Yeah.
don't really care for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
There were a lot of RingCon people there.
Okay.
So I saw
So you
people all
you
the
saw
time.
some people that you
Oh,
knew.
yeah, a lot of
so-
them. And I talked.
Okay.
I played,
Oh, okay.
played with a lot of them. They'd come up to the table. So that was
Okay, so it wasn't a completely lonely experience.
I had people to talk to. Okay. Plus, I know a lot of the dealers at Harrah, so I was playing with some of them that I knew, some that even listened to the podcast. No. But anyway, the casinos were empty.
Yeah,
I mean, from my experience in the past for Great Griff Wrap-Up, I mean, when I went to bed at 9:30 on a Saturday night, there were 4 tables open at 4 craps tables at Harrah's. 2 of them completely empty. One had 6 people, the other one had 4.
Wow. And what were the limits?
$25. They were
on all the tables?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Harrah's has half their tables have fire bet and half have all tall, all small.
Oh, okay. All right.
Bally's had all the tables were repeater.
Ah, okay.
I don't know about some of the other places, but at least the fire bet was there at Harrah's.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, even though December is typically a slow month for Vegas, you've been told by the dealers that in the past that the Great Gift Wrap-Up is their busiest weekend of the year.
Their busiest weekend. Well, it's all gamblers, right?
Right, that's true.
There's nobody coming to Great Gift Wrap-Up that's a casual gambler.
Yeah.
They're all there because they got a lot of points. They're gamblers. Yeah. So there's a lot of gambling going on. One other thing, at Harrah's, the food court thing was open.
Okay, yeah.
But not completely.
All right.
So about half of it. Like maybe there's 4 stations, like 2 of them were open.
Okay.
And I asked a guy, he said, yeah, we're open till 11, and that one that had the snacks and stuff, that's open till midnight.
Okay.
So, you could still get food.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't starve.
Yeah.
I mean, because there were people who were getting stuff there and just, they had a few tables and people were sitting. But yeah, it was different. Yeah. It was definitely different.
I'll bet.
The blackjack tables had a lot of plastic and stuff.
A lot of like plexiglass, you mean?
Plexiglass, yeah. And the craps tables just had 3 on each side.
Okay, yeah.
The slots weren't really turned off or anything. They were pretty much all normal.
Really?
Yeah, as far as I could tell.
But a lot of players or no?
No.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No,
yeah.
not a lot of players.
Yeah.
The casino was pretty empty.
Yeah.
The funny thing I was going to tell you about the plane flights was I didn't pay too much attention going there. It's like 6 a.m. and I just, got on there and kind of closed my eyes.
Was it packed? Was it a full flight? Or it really was?
Both flights.
Really?
Going there and back were full.
Wow. Okay.
But what's funny thing is coming back, I was the oldest person on the plane. And I am not joking. Yeah. Bar none. Yeah. I had the very last seat in the back. So I let everyone go. I thought, I'm not going to, So I waited. I got on the plane. There were only 4 or 5 people who got on after me. And everybody who got on was younger than me. And I told Lynn, the funny thing is 10 minutes before they were going to start boarding in Vegas, there's like 30 of us sitting there.
Okay.
By the gate.
Right.
It's the only gate that has anything going on we were in the D section. And I'm thinking, wow, this plane's going to be empty. It's great. 30 people. No, it was full. And the reason is because they're all younger and they all get there at the last second. Some of them are, oh, thank God we made it. But typically all of us old people are there, 2 hours ahead of time waiting. Mark, the pilot, the co-pilot, all of the flight crew, everybody was younger than
Well, I hope that the staff was younger than you, Mike.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to make you feel bad, but...
But it's so funny to be the oldest person. I kept looking around, and as people were leaving, I'm looking at them thinking, God, there's got to be somebody here who's like, over 65. Come on.
They're all quarantining, my friend. They're smart.
I was the only one. I thought, these people probably think, what the hell's that guy's problem? Seriously, the majority of the people on that plane were between, say, 22 and 30.
Yeah. Now, did you feel safe? Well, did you feel safe on the planes? Did you feel safe in Vegas?
I felt pretty safe on the planes because the flight attendants on both flights kept telling people to put their mask on. And it wasn't that they took it off. They just kept pulling them down. I kept watching people. They'd sit down and they'd pull it off their nose and it'd be like covering their mouth a little and their chin. Yeah. And the flight attendant would go back, you got to put your mask. And people complied. They did it.
Yeah, good. That's good.
But I felt safe. And I felt really safe in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good.
I never once felt, honestly, people would come up and watch and they would yell. They would, you got to stand back.
Yeah.
And that I got a kick out of that one guy. That's my daughter, and they're like, she's still got to stand back. Nobody can stand there, Yeah. So, overall it was okay. I just went because I wanted to get our points.
Yeah.
Had I known that it was just a kiosk thing, honestly, I would have taken the flight there and then got on
The
that
next one,
afternoon
yeah.
and come back.
Yeah, really, with no point staying overnight. Yeah.
One thing about Spirit and Frontier is super cheap.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, right?
Yeah. And that's also a reason there were a lot of younger people on those. And, they were early morning ones. And Lynn, my wife, was saying, well, why are so many young people on this flight? I said, because that's the cheapest flight.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, they get more expensive.
Yeah, right.
And I'm on them because I just want to get back home.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. While you were gone, my son and I went up to Harrah, Southern California, to play a little bit. We played a little stadium gaming, and we got some free play, and then we went to the real craps table. Finally, there were 2 open spots. Only 2 tables were open. And Olga, the pit boss, she saw us kind of walking around. Hey, 2 spots open. So we went over there, and we won a little bit. It started out terrible. We ended up winning, I don't know, $150 between the 2 of us, and we said, let's get out of here. So we did. But while we were there, Joel, Joel, the dealer, one of our favorite dealers there,
Right.
So he's on our side, and I'm making cum bets at $25 table. And so one of my favorite things to do when you and I are out there is when I win in the cum because of an 11, I'm usually the only one at the table who won something. Sometimes people have money in the field, but usually it's just me. So I like to pick up my $25 chip and hold it in front of your face and go, woo! Everybody, and the dealers get a big kick out of it.
Oh yeah, they get a real big kick out of it, Mark.
So anyway, it happened, when my son and I were there, and I picked up the chip and kind of looked around like, hey, where's Dr. Mike? What do I want to do? And the dealers were kind of laughing. So what I did was I put the bet back down on the table so that you could see there was a $25 chip and then one right next to it that, got paid. I took that picture and I sent it to you with, woo!
I immediately saw it, and I sent you a disgusted face, right?
Yes, you did. The kind of angry steam coming out of his ears guy.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you like that.
I did like that. I'll tell you what, though, Mark.
Yeah.
That's why it's nice to go alone.
All right. Well, like I said, welcome back. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's get on to some voicemails. First up is Brad.
Hi, this is Brad from Tallahassee. Wanted to give a report about something that happened, really a 2-part question. Long-time listener, first-time caller, love your show. We have a poker room right outside of town where I know the poker dealer, and he was doing one of the carnival games at the time. He was dealing $5 Ultimate Texas Hold'em because there were no poker tables running during COVID. The max was 2 people, and there was one person playing just $5 a spot, and the dealer saw me coming by and said, hey, do you want to play a couple of hands? I said, sure. So I asked the gentleman beside me, is it okay if I come and sit down? He's like, yeah, jovial, absolutely. I sit down, and I put $25 on each spot and $5 for the dealer on each spot. And damn if he doesn't throw quads with my hand, quad 6s. The guy beside me was belligerent, stormed off, took his chips, left. I stood there, got paid, and they had to have the floor verify. So once the floor verified, it gave the guy who was playing next to me time to come back. As he came back, he cursed the dealer. I gave the dealer a $100 tip and cashed out and walked off. So I guess my question to you is, what is the etiquette when you win big next to somebody who's been grinding for a long time, 1? And 2, because the dealer's tips are pooled, should I have waited later in the time when he was playing poker and given him the tip then so he would not have to split it with other people? Thanks, and have a great day.
Okay, so I assume you meant dealing poker, when the dealer goes around to deal poker. As far as that question goes, I'd say no. Just tip when it happens because, it's sort of weird. Like if you're tipping later when he's at the poker table, it might even practically, it might look suspicious.
Right.
Like, why are you tipping this dealer right now? Did you have some arrangement that, worked out or, wait a minute, it's poker. Why? Yeah, so no, just tip right there. Don't worry about pooling or anything there.
No,
just when it happens, tip. Yeah.
I would just tip. Yeah.
And then as far as, so we hear a lot of stories about this where maybe somebody's been playing video poker for just hours and hours, and then you step up and you get a royal flush right away.
Yeah.
And we have heard some people will, here's a little cash. I know you've been here a while. I'll tell you, there's no rule, etiquette-wise or otherwise, that says that you have to tip people. And certainly in this...
Why should you, really?
Well, in this specific instance, absolutely not. If he's storming off and everything.
No.
But, let's say maybe you've been playing 20 minutes and you're next to someone who's been playing for 5 hours, and you strike up a conversation, you're getting along real well, and you hit something really big. Still, it's up to you. If you want to give them something, that's fine. But in no way is it expected.
No. And, it's funny how people get upset about that. I don't know if you remember, I don't even know what episode this was. It was a long time ago. But I told this story where Lynn and I were out at Verona, I believe, or somewhere, and she had never played 3-card poker. And I was trying to explain it to her, and I said, well, sit down and play a couple hands. And so she sits down and buys in for like $20 and puts her money out there, all of it in the first hand, and gets, trip tens or something. And when she sat down, the people at the table, it was full.
Yeah.
There was only one spot open, and they all said to her, it's been pretty rough, rough. And the first thing she does is win a bunch of money, like $400. Yeah. And they looked at her like, and the funny thing is then we left.
You're right. Just hit and run. They're furious.
Hit that and run because we really didn't want to play. I was just trying to show her how it works. Yeah. And, it just happened. She made a big killing. But when people win, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, here.
Unless they're on the don't. And then I'm not too happy.
Of course. And I'm kind of repeating myself here, but feel no obligation to tip in these situations. Certainly not if you've just gotten there.
Right.
You don't know anything about these people or how long they've been playing, despite what they might say. Right. Certainly don't tip if they're like this guy who, is real nice when you're coming to the table and gets angry that you won. But again, it's completely up to you. If you've struck up a conversation, you're getting along well, and the mood hits you, then fine.
It's one of those things. It's the same thing. If you walk up to a table and the guy playing blackjack next to you has $1,800 in chips, and you look at him and say, "Oh, having a good night. It looks like you're really killing it." And then he looks at you, well, no, I'm in for $4,000.
Yeah, you can't make assumptions based on, when you first come to the table. Yeah.
Right. And so the same thing happens if I, hit a big hand. It's like, well, that probably wouldn't have happened to him. It's not like if I hadn't have gone there, he would have got it.
Right,
it would have been totally different. It's just luck. Just be happy for that person. And the guy with $1,800, you just look at him and say, how you doing tonight? And if he says, oh, I'm down, 3,000. Then, oh, darn. And if he says, oh, I'm up, then you're happy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it should be, right?
It's the way it should be. I agree, Dr. Mike. All right, next call.
Hey, fellas. It's Scott from Boston. How you doing? Just calling to tell you a little bit about the state of play here in the greater Boston area. I've been going up to Encore, which is lovely, but no craps tables. In fact, they had the craps tables closed, and now they've taken them all down and done something with them, and it's just an empty space where the craps tables were. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I was hopeful because they had plexiglass up on them, and I thought, okay, great, they're going to have real live dice and plexiglass, but they never opened them up, and now it's nothing. 2 play to win, roll to win, whatever they're called, craps machines, which I've been playing. It's okay. It's only 2x odds, and you don't have the spirit of the table, which I miss. I had a little question, though, for you guys, and maybe this is for Dr. Mike, and ask him to be a doctor for a second. Don't you think all the spraying of the dice and wiping of everything is a big waste of time? I mean, it sounds like this virus is transmitted respiratory, not on surfaces. Fomites don't seem to be responsible. What do you think? Shouldn't we change these wiping protocols? Aren't we wasting a lot of time? Thanks, guys, for all you do. Love the show. Hope to be calling in with some real live dice rolling one of these days.
I agree.
Yeah, you think it's a lot of it's just safety theater, basically?
It's safety theater.
Yeah.
A lot of it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
The actual virus is mostly transmitted through your nose and mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I touch some dice that you touched and then I go touch my nose or my eye, that's not good.
Yeah, right.
But if people wash their hands and sanitize their hands and wear their masks, I think they're safe.
Yeah.
It's so weird because, they don't sanitize the chips all that often.
No.
At all. And you're touching those more than you are the dice.
Yes, yeah.
So sanitizing the dice is stupid. when the dealer wipes down the little area in front of him, that's stupid too. Yeah. I mean, I think that's all just theater, right?
Yeah. I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't hurt. And if you want to overdo something, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's necessary or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of controversy if you talk to virologists about cycle times for testing and stuff. Some of the things we do are just ludicrous. We'll talk to a real virologist. But, they got to present that they're doing their best.
I think that's a lot of it too, is showing
clean,
that they're doing,
that they're trying their hardest. Yeah. And one thing I noticed at Harrah's in Las Vegas, you know how they use spray bottles at Rincon? They spray stuff and then wipe it, or they spray the towel and they wipe it.
Right.
And most of the sterilizing agents that we use to clean the rooms have to sit for 2 minutes.
The rooms at your office, you're saying?
Yeah, at the office. Yeah. We spray it and let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay.
Because it needs time to work.
Okay.
Just wiping it off doesn't do anything.
I see.
However, at Harrah's in Las Vegas, they had a disinfectant wipe, and when the dealers rotated, they all just grabbed a wipe that was right on the rail next to them and wiped their area down.
A fresh wipe? From a canister where you pull out a wipe. Right, yeah.
And they pulled out a wipe and they wiped their area and moved on. So it was real quick.
Yeah.
It was way quicker than Rincon.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost not noticeable. I mean, it was mostly like they just moved.
Yeah, that seems a lot smarter and more efficient.
And way more efficient. Yeah. They just had it sitting in the rail right next to them. Yeah. So, it was none of this spraying the towel and wiping it. I don't know.
Scott. So Massachusetts, even though the casinos have opened up, they still don't have craps. No craps since the reopening after the initial shutdown. So,
do you think that's more of a economic thing versus a sterilization thing?
Oh, it's the government being cautious.
Yeah, right? I thought maybe it was the casino saying, it's not worth to have 6 people.
It's not the casino. They want to open these tables. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully before too long, crafts will come back. But don't hold your breath, or maybe do hold your breath. That'll probably save your life. All right, next up is Mike.
Hey guys, this is Mike in Florida. Wanted to give you a pretty fun update on a trip to Harrah's, Cherokee that I had the Monday before Thanksgiving. As you guys probably know, there's not a lot of competition in that part of the world for casinos, so they sort of have a monopoly on the area. And it was packed. Lots of people on a Monday afternoon, evening. They had 4 tables open. All were with the 6-person maximum. And I actually had to wait about 15 minutes to get on a table. When I did, it was a $15 minimum. Went pretty well. I broke even, which I considered a victory because I started out down about $400 in 10 minutes. Fun time. Dealers were friendly. 10 times odds, which I thought was good. If you at least have to play at a higher minimum than you're used to, getting some better odds in return is good. Overall, a good experience. Definitely recommend it if you're in the area. It's in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, but once you get there, you've arrived at a true destination casino. So if you're ever in that part of the world, especially since it's part of the Harrah's program, which I know you guys are big on, you really can't go wrong. And you're not going to find 10 times odds at any Caesars properties in Vegas, I know that. So at least they give you that. Overall, good trip, and worth stopping if you ever decide to go visit the Appalachians. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good. More good things about Harrah's, Cherokee, so we're not surprised.
My wife even mentioned just recently that we really need to go there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Well, she wants to go to Dollywood. She's a big Dolly Parton fan.
Yeah.
See the national park, and there's a lot to do there actually. That's pretty close. So maybe this summer, if things, if the world gets back, this summer might be a definite possibility.
Listener Mark also emailed us a report from Harrah's, Cherokee, and he mentioned this. We haven't heard from anybody else. They were doing temperature checks upon entry and asking you the COVID questions. If you passed all of that, you were given a wristband and permitted to enter. So that's interesting. I guess in that case, maybe if you need to go back to your car, you don't have to go through it again. Or if somebody got into the casino and somehow circumvented that. Because, Mike, how many times at Harrah's have you seen people just don't see the arrows?
Yeah.
And they get off the elevator and they just walk into the casino without going through the, the protocol.
And if the guy doesn't notice, they're in.
They're in,
Yeah. Well, remember, in the back, but where you pick up your gifts, We go out that back door, and I'm like, well, I can just prop this open, go out to my car, and then come back in.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do it, and I'm like, no.
No, I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
I was scared to even go out that way. You're making things up.
I was the one who was saying, no, we got to go through the check again because I don't want to get thrown out for being
All right,
illegal.
folks, who do you believe, Dr. Mike
No,
or me?
it was you.
Mm-hmm. All right, next call.
Hi, guys. This is Nick in Kalamazoo, just giving a quick trip report from Vegas. I was just there December 2nd through the 8th. We were supposed to stay in the Pyramid in one of those corner suites. When we got to Luxor, we found out that the Pyramid was closed due to the 25% capacity, so they put us in a tower room instead. So we got in Wednesday and left Tuesday. Wednesday and early Thursday, it was pretty difficult to find food, especially around the Strip. A lot of places are closed Tuesday and Wednesday. You do have to make reservations, but many places that require quote-unquote reservations will just take your name down and state it's a reservation. Others make you scan a QR code and fill out information. The rest of the week, there's a lot more stuff open. Thursday evening and on, you start to see more people on the Strip. You start to see more people downtown. More restaurants are open. Some still have limited menus, but you're able to find a lot more stuff to eat. The second half of our trip, we stayed at the Delano, which we've never done before. It was really nice, had a really nice suite. It was great. Again, Monday and Tuesday, especially Tuesday morning, we had to walk all the way over to Luxor to find breakfast. It was difficult, but if you have a car and you're able to do some other things off the Strip, food isn't a problem. But we played lots of slots. We played some craps. No crazy winnings to report, but a lot of fun. And if you're still a low roller like I am, there are still places to play $5 craps. When I was at the Harrah in the morning, it was $5. South Point was $5 the entire time we were there. Same for the Cannery, which has the fire bet. I quite enjoy going out there. My wife hit a $1,280 jackpot on Buffalo, which was unfortunate, 81 cents less than we wouldn't have had to pay taxes. It's $3 for craps at Jerry's Nuggets. She also hit a $1,000 Royal Flush there, which is strange is that anything at Jerry's Nuggets $500 and over is a hand pay. Didn't require taxes, but it required someone to come over and pay her. I'm guessing just because they're a small place, they don't have the funds to keep that in the machine. But again, $3 craps there. Great place, super nice people. And then downtown, Four Queens and Binions had $5 almost every day that we were there. I didn't feel like playing $15 at Circa or the D or Golden Gate or any of that. On the Strip, the only time I found a $10 table was at Bally's, and I think it was like Thursday before 2 o'clock. Everything else was 15 or 25, so a lot more expensive up there. But had some good food. The plane ride back and forth was pretty calm. Nobody did anything crazy or refused to wear masks, so I can't complain. I think it's still worth going. We stayed on East Coast time, so we were in bed by 9 o'clock Vegas time, and we were up by 5 or 6 Vegas time, so we avoided people. We were able to find food. It was a good time, so I would suggest that people are still interested.
You got cut off there. Mike, you're there on a weekend,
right?
Which should be a relatively busy weekend. Midweek in December, just hearing Nick talk about it, hard to find food on the Strip.
Well,
wow.
I mean, they're not going to open the restaurant at the Guy Fieri's. The hostess told me, said, "Do you want to sit at the bar or a table?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, whatever's easier for you. I'm by myself, so I can sit at the bar if you need the table." She's like, "We don't need the table. We only allow 50 people in at a time.
Yeah.
So until someone leaves, no one else can come in," which, is kind of weird for reservations even, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of places are putting limits on how long you can stay now, right? So they can get some turnover.
Yeah. Because, I was at the bar. I could have sat there for another hour and watched the game. I kind of wanted to. And then I thought, I should get up because, somebody else might want to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah. All right, last call from Josh.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Josh from Seattle, and I just got back from a trip to Las Vegas, and I wanted to tell you 2 quick stories. First of all, I stayed at the Wynn, and they have the plexiglass between craps tables, and I found that my dice throwing, I wasn't constrained by the plexiglass. I know some are maybe a little tighter than others, but at the Wynn, they did a good job giving space, and I was comfortable with that. But I wanted to tell you, so we had a nice roll, and I have a tendency to make place bets for the dealers as my way of tipping. So I'll do a $6 6 or $6 8 and so on. We had a really good roll, and the dealer next to me was pressing his place bets and breaking them up, and so he put $3 on a can or so on. So we had a good roll, and they got all the numbers covered, and I was pressing up, and the dealers were pressing up. And this I never knew, and I was curious as to whether or not you knew that the dealers won't press their place bets up higher than the player that placed the bet. So, for instance, we had a $150 9. The dealers didn't go past my 150. So it was kind of fun that the dealer was kind of pushing me to press my bets faster, so the dealers could press their bets faster. And it ended up being a fantastic roll, and the dealers were, dropping black chips because every number that was hitting them. They had their place bets that started out at $30 across, effectively up into the black chip area. It was a lot of fun. The next story, this was actually the same table. There was a black and purple chip player that played from the don't, took odds from the don't, and placed all the numbers, but he placed the numbers twice. So he had 2 sets of place bets, black and purple chips, and he would alternate them. Sometimes they were both on, sometimes they were both off, sometimes one set was on, and then he played the don't for the point. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen a player have 2 sets of place bets. I'll send you a picture of the table so you can see what was going on and see if you can figure out why he might have done that. I don't think there was any reason to it. They let him do it because he was such a big player, I think, but it was odd for me to see. Anyway, thanks very much, and thanks for the terrific podcast. It's always a fun listen. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
He did send us that picture. And, I was thinking we've never seen that before.
No,
right? But
no.
Now that there are only 3 people on each side, there's certainly room for 2 sets of place bets for the same player.
Sure.
They're going to accommodate, kind of a high roller. It certainly would be easier to let a player do that than to have him constantly lowering and raising his place bets. You know how there are a lot of players who, all right, I've got, $50 across on everything. Take everything down to 25. All right, now jump it up to 70. At least this is some way to kind of alternate it without actually having to pull any chips down, just having off or on markers on 1, 2, or 0, sets of the place bets.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess that's
the only thing I could think of why you would do it.
Right. I mean, I'm trying to think of why you would do it, but I guess in that case, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does the player care that much that the dealers have to work their butts off to accommodate his stupid play?
I don't know. Maybe he thinks it's some fun way to go, or I don't know.
I don't know.
I wonder who came up with it. If he suggested it, or if the dealers were getting so tired of changing everything, he said, "Hey, why don't you just make 2 sets of placements?"
Yeah, maybe
it's
a dealer.
possible.
Yeah, maybe a dealer said that.
Yeah.
When you were not with me and I was out at Harrah's Rincon a couple of weeks ago, that story reminded me there was a guy who was betting on the pass line and on the don't pass line.
Okay, sure.
And then when the point was established, he would take the rest of the inside numbers.
Okay, not the point, just everything else, all the rest of the inside numbers.
Just
okay, I
the
got
inside numbers he would place on.
Okay,
And I don't remember.
But not the point. If the point were an inside number, he wouldn't take it.
We wouldn't take it, right? So if the point was 8, he would place the 5, the 6, and the 9.
Okay.
What is the idea behind that? Because more than not, that night was not going well.
Okay.
Somebody would make like a 5 and then 7 out.
Yeah.
So it's a losing roll.
He was never taking odds on either side?
No odds on either side.
That's really,
So what was he thinking? And I didn't even want to get involved in it. He was playing next to me.
Right.
And I just whatever.
Some people play that do-we-don't just to get rated.
Right.
But usually they'll take odds on what, but yeah, not to, and then to place all the rest of the inside.
Any pit boss who's been around long enough sees that, and they just rate him on 1.
Yeah.
So they don't rate him on $5 on pass and $5 on don't.
Yeah, right.
They just rate him $5.
Or nothing, right?
Or nothing,
they're just disgusted with somebody playing that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so it's like the guy with 2 place bets. I don't,
Yeah, it's interesting, but that's the only reason I could have thought of that he would have done
maybe,
it. So.
and you're right. Maybe some dealer just got fed up and just let's just make 2 and turn 1 off. When you tell me which one's on.
Oh, okay.
That could backfire too, because then the guy okay, the 5, the low bet's on, the 6, the high bet's on.
Right, and then the roll comes up 7 out.
Yeah.
No, you marked them wrong.
You marked them wrong, exactly. That might be his real reason.
Yeah, really.
Right?
That's right. He's just angle shooting there to try to get something.
Angle shooting, right.
Yeah, it's sort of an unwritten law. Well, unwritten law. There might be some casinos that enforce it. But yeah, you usually don't make a bigger bet for the dealers than you're making for yourself. And the dealers don't want you to do that either. They don't want to jinx it in their mind or feel guilty about it.
Well, and if they're pressing their bets, if you tell them to press when you want, they're not going to go past you.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be insulting almost.
Exactly. Hey,
Too bad you're not as good a player as me. You'd be making more money.
Yeah, Dr. Mike, we just dropped 3,000. Here's your 300.
Right.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring PayPal donations. Robin from Anytime Gambling, Justin, and Nathan. Thanks very much. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. And our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Now, our next episode, we're not exactly sure when we're going to release it. If we were to stick on our current schedule, it would drop on New Year's Eve, December 31st.
Right.
But with our schedules here, holiday schedules and family and all that kind of stuff, we're just not going to be able to find time to record before then.
Right.
So we may release an episode on January 7th, which would be a Thursday. It wouldn't be our regular Thursday slot. We'd be kind of off schedule there. And then maybe release another one on January 14th, or we may just skip, the January 7th and just our next one will be in a month on the 14th. We really don't know at this point. So when you don't get an episode from us, this is going to be the last one of the year. When you don't see one on New Year's Eve, that's why. So look for one sometime in the first 2 weeks of January.
And if you want it closer to the 1st instead of the 14th, send a bunch of phone calls.
Yeah, so we have some content.
Well, if you send a bunch of phone calls, we're compelled.
You have to.
Oh, we got to.
Mike, we got to record.
We've got so many calls.
Oh, yikes. And so, of course, in that spirit, we want to say happy holidays to everyone because all the holidays are going to happen before you hear from us again. Hanukkah is actually underway right now.
It's almost
as we're
over.
Recording. I know, yeah. Right, that. And then, of course, Christmas coming up next week. And right after that, Kwanzaa hits. And then, of course, Happy New Year to everybody. So, stay safe. It's going to be a weird one.
You think New Year's coming?
I think it is.
You think it is?
I think it is, yeah. I wouldn't take any money on it.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. I don't know what the odds are. We're going to have to check into that. Let's call London and find out what...
as it's happening, or, when it actually at the international date line, have you crossed over? Is it 2021 where you are?
It just gets stuck somehow.
Right.
It's like, the Y2K thing.
Yeah,
the
that's right.
computers are all just stuck on 2020.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you got anything else for us, Mike, to sign off this
I wanted
challenging year?
I wanted to say earlier, and I don't know why I didn't, but when you were talking about the Cleveland Browns and football, I've actually been doing very well on football this year.
Yes, he has. Yes.
I've been very, very good. See, we lost that Monday night game, but I think on Sunday we were like 6 out of 7.
Sunday was one of the best days we've had in a while. Yeah. We had to make another deposit into our account, thanks mostly to me and my terrible college basketball picks.
If you watch some college basketball, maybe that might help.
No, I don't follow. But yeah, it has been, you've been doing very well in certainly your NFL picks and a lot of your college football picks too.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm up for both of them. And the funny thing is it's 2020 and I have all of a sudden, mastered football betting.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, have a great new year. We'll see you in 3 or 4 weeks.
Everyone stay healthy.
Yep.
Happy holidays.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, sweet mother, I love you, Dr. Mike.